I'm saying it. Shaded Citadel is one of the best rain world regions and I will die on that hill. It's one of the most unique experiences you will go through in this game, and a very well executed region. And yet every time I say that I love Shaded Citadel, the reaction is something to the effect of, why? So in this video I would like to hopefully present why I think Shaded Citadel is amazing. If you are going the intended path, you will end up here from Shoreline, which means you already met Moon, and it's connected to the exterior and therefore 5 pebbles. It's placed in between two very important lore drops, which means its job is to be the intersection connecting 5 pebbles and Moon. It also does a really good job at building up the exterior while having its own identity. When it comes to its story, it serves to show the direct effects the islanders have on the world and strengthens their impact. By looking at an area directly affected by them, we are able to understand the open scale of 5 pebbles. Just his existence is able to overshadow an entire region of the map. You could think about like the garbage waste of Shoreline. And it's elevated even more when you get to Silent Construct, because almost the entire region gets destroyed. And it actually has some symbolism. A bastion of all traditions of the ancients is literally overshadowed by the iterations and technological progress, while the only thing that remains here are memories. It goes for this temple look, which is nice, especially since most of the other regions are really mechanical. You can tell that it's really old, and it's nice seeing the least mechanical region right before the most mechanical one. Symbolism or something. I also enjoy the fact that it's darker and only illuminated by the lightning from memory crypts or scavenger lanterns. But that's when you can't see anything at all, because this region's gimmick is that it's dark, that's it. The region is called Shaded Citadel, what were you expecting? Or rather, this region plays around the concept of taking away sight. Not only yours, but other creatures too. Most of this region is either really dark or completely black, which makes traversing it very difficult if you don't know what you're doing. You can no longer rely on your eyes to see threats and obstacles. There are spiders that perfectly blend into the dark and will attack you without a light source. You're going to have to do parkour while not seeing anything. Or will you? Throughout this region there are a couple of ways to get a light source and make traversing this region way more manageable. Scavengers roam around with lanterns in hands, allowing you to either steal or trade for them, and I do enjoy how it shows the ingenuity of the scavengers. Lantern mice light up the region with their glowing bodies, although it's not really good for avoiding spiders. You can reveal the layout of the room if you're desperate enough with flashbangs, and they kill spiders too. Or maybe you already have a light source in the form of a glowing body because you're evil and 8 moons neurons. And if you happen to be playing Monk, you get some light. It's a really creative way to make the region easier without actually changing it fundamentally. Because of the dark, this region is way harder to navigate since there aren't really any landmarks to guide you to the right direction. But I do enjoy the little detail of the Myra's bird's graffiti actually pointing to the entrance of memory crypts. Like I said before, this region plays with the idea of removing sight and nowhere else is more apparent than its creature roster. I already mentioned the multiple spider enemies, so let's just get more into that. The world spiders are either the stupidest creatures in the game or the greatest assassin in the world. There is no in between, they will chase you until the ends of the earth. There are spitter spiders that will shoot at you to paralyze you, which is very annoying because you get hit. You are under a time limit to either kill the spider or run away far enough for them to not be able to get to you. Especially in Hunter, and Artificer, and Spearmaster, and Saint, and Inn. But there are also black lizards, a lizard variant who is blind and therefore relies completely on hearing, being easily distracted by any sound, so you better grab a rock. This gimmick was so good that they had to repeat that later in the Watcher. They are also completely invisible while not hearing anything, which means you will get surprised quite often. And the tentacle plants, which operate based on the movements of the water rather than sight, which means you have to be extremely careful while avoiding them. You could genuinely be standing right next to them and they couldn't sense you, or just throw a spear on them. All of these factors make Shaded Citadel's atmosphere one of horror and dread. It's the closest the game gets to a scary atmosphere. You never know when you will be attacked, there is a feeling of uncertainty. You don't know if the room you're currently in has no spiders or an entire army waiting for you. And it's even more scary because there is almost no music. I think that the Black Moonlight is the most iconic track from this region basically by default, because it does not have a single other one. Correct me if I'm wrong though. That feeling of uncertainty is brought to possibly one of my favorite moments and sections of the entire game. Memory crypts are one last challenge for usually exterior, possibly the most memorable part of the region, and the reason most people don't want to come back here. It's a series of long rooms with only one way forward. The rooms are really flat, they don't really play with verticality or anything. They have narrow paths in the ground and multiple flashbangs scattered throughout, but that's pretty much it when it comes to the layout. The rooms pretty much just look like the usual shaded citadel rooms, except they have the multiple cages with these weird red worm things. And there's green lighting lighting up the background. I hope this will be relevant in another region. But what makes it so unique are the Myros birds. The Myros birds are so cool. Their design is great, a bird of death with mechanical limbs, shrouded in darkness with its small yellow eye going in the distance. It perfectly conveys what you are meant to feel. They're kinda scary, man, especially with the sounds they make. They're extremely fast, strong and durable, and the worst part, they travel in packs. Which is what makes this section one of my favorite parts of the game. The Myros birds will run from one side of the room to the other looking for something to eat, and if they spot you, you're as good as dead. The only way to actually know they are coming is to listen to their sounds. If you hear a sound, you have at best a couple of seconds to quickly hide in whatever hole you can find so that they can't reach you. This also ties us back to the theme of taking away sight. You can't really rely on seeing them because if you see them, then they can go and see you, which means you have to listen if they're there. And the way you can distract them, you take away their sight with flashbangs. The entire section is basically gambling. You have to take risks to progress and you start wondering, is there a bird there? What if they come here now? Should I wait a bit more? Should I wait until they run through again? Should I go now? As you barely avoid death. It is kinda junky because of the rainward camera works, but I don't think it's that big of an issue, especially since you are supposed to listen to them instead of spotting them anyway. And the section is hard too. It truly feels like one final challenge before the exterior. Its peak. It's long, creative and difficult, but not overbearingly so. It looks good, the atmosphere is amazing, and it's just fun to go through. Now how do the harder sluggards handle the shaded still? Hunter simply spawns way more spiders and removes most of the flashbangs through the memory crypts. But it's not really that important because what Gambas would go through the memory crypts as Hunter? It's still one of the safer regions in the campaign and the best way to move. It's the starting region of the Gourmand campaign. It uses darkness as a way to force you to craft a lantern, which I think is really nice. Nothing really changes for Artificer and Spearmaster except for the fact that the Myros vultures can now appear alongside Myros birds. Rivulet is really cool with it. It has the raw water and even some of those fallen balls from the underhank with oranges in them to memory crypts. It's not really better than the OG memory crypts, but I can upload the effort and it is creative and cool. Saint has Silent Construct and not gonna lie, Frosted Cathedral is a fire-ass name, but we are not here to talk about Silent Construct. It is genuinely so disappointing. Oh, let's just spam red lizards and Myros vultures and not do anything even remotely interesting. That's were really lazy, especially when you compare it to a region like Sky Islands or Exterior. And I think that the reason why people don't like this region is for the same reason people dislike regions like the Five Pebbles or drainage system. It's basically just a trap for new players and leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. Unfortunately, it is connected to industrial complex and acts as an alternative path to both chimney and garbage wastes, neither of which are as ridiculous as this region, because it actually bothers to change the status quo and introduce new mechanics and play around with new mechanics on a much larger scale than any of these regions combined. But if you're a good player and still hate this region, then give it another shot, maybe? In conclusion, Shaded Citadel is a very good region that not only explores its gimmick very well, but also has one of the best sections in the game. It looks nice, fulfills its narrative purpose, and creates an amazing atmosphere. It does drop the ball when it comes to switching off the other campaigns, but it's still great and I'm giving it a 7 out of 10.